Hello, I'm Marianne Meed Ward, a downtown resident and journalist and a candidate for Ward 2 in the upcoming municipal election in Burlington on October 25th. One of the defining issues in this election has been Burlington's unfinished pier, which you'll see behind me at the foot of Brand Street down in Spencer Smith Park. The unfinished pier has become a defining issue for residents I talked to on this election campaign. Residents say that it reveals a lack of transparency, leadership, a lack of ability to work together to come to solutions, and it compromises Burlington's reputation as a well-managed city. There's a lot of misinformation out there about the pier, so as a journalist, I did my own investigation. I'm the only candidate who's talked to the bonding company, the contractor, attempted to contact the engineer who isn't returning phone calls, but also sat down for hours with city staff to try and understand this project and the opportunities for completing it. When this project was originally started, the plan was to complete it in 2008 at a total cost of $7.2 million. Those costs are now at least $9.4 million with no end date in sight. Questions about the design first arose 2 years ago during the concrete pour of the deck level, which is behind me. When the pour started, it sunk too low and twisted some underlying beams, and at that time, the contractor raised concerns about the design. The design engineer said there was nothing wrong with the design, it was faulty construction that caused the problem. The city, to date, has stood by the engineer and blamed the contractor for all of the problems. And yet, there's a problem of conflict of interest here. AECOM, who is the design engineer, is also charged with contract administration of this project. And that means that they are involved in arbitrating any dispute about the design. Well, they can't possibly impartially arbitrate a dispute about their own design. And that was the first step where the city went wrong on oversight on this project. That contract should have been terminated. And since then, on city projects around town, there is a separation between the design engineer function and the contract administration function. I've spent hours sitting with the contractor and with city staff going over the fine details of the construction and engineering and the design to try and understand what went wrong. I've looked at some of the independent reports that have been produced, and on this issue, independent engineers disagree about what went wrong. I don't think we'll ever get an agreement about whether design or construction techniques caused the problem. And we could spend an awful lot of money fighting it out in a court of law to assign blame. That's not going to get the pier finished, and it's going to cost us a lot of money. We've also seen those costs already go up, but for the wrong things, not for construction. AECOM's costs alone for design and engineering have almost doubled. They're a whopping $1.9 million, and on a project of this size, that's about 20% of your total costs. Normally, costs are in the 5 to 10% range. Legal fees are over and above that, although city policy prevents the city from telling us what those legal costs are. And inflationary pressures for labor and materials are above that again. So the longer this project is delayed, the more it's going to cost us. We know that. But nothing has been done on this project for 2 years, until the beginning of an election year. In January, the contractor put an offer on the table for the city to do a redesign and build the project completed as early as October, right now. But the city turned down that offer and chose instead to, quote, pursue legal remedies. They also called the contractor's bond. Now, this was interesting because there are different types of bonds that are used for different functions. And the type of bond here is only called when the contractor is bankrupt or in default. I spent a lot of time talking to the bonding company. I want to share with you what I learned. Doug Corby of Masters Insurance of Zurich said, in this case, there doesn't appear to be default or clear breach of contract, and nobody is insolvent. Bonds are not intended to be a dispute resolution mechanism. You don't turn to the bond and say, solve it. When asked about the contractor's offer, the price, the details, both the city and the contractor refused to release that, citing legal confidentiality. And yet at the time, the city had not launched any legal action against the contractor. That didn't happen until August. And the city sued both the contractor, the bonding company, as well as the engineering firm. But weeks after that, the city stood down, said it wasn't actively pursuing the lawsuit, and it had restarted negotiations with the contractor. But then it stood down from those negotiations to retender the project. This is knee-jerk decision-making in search of a strategy. And it doesn't bode well for Burlington's reputation as a well-managed city and a city that is good to do business with. My friends in construction and engineering tell me this will cost us a risk premium going forward when we go out to tender projects. We're told that this strategy is designed to protect taxpayers. And yet the best way that the city could protect taxpayers is seeking a timely resolution to this issue that keeps us out of the courts. This project, by the time it's finished, will be more than 3 years late, possibly 4 years late, at least $2 million over budget. And that's just for the numbers we know about. We don't know about the legal costs, the hundreds of hours of staff time, and inflationary pressures due to labor and materials going up. We need to start spending taxpayers' money on a solution and keep this out of the courts. We also need to improve openness and transparency on this project. When this project was originally tendered, we knew what the budget was. We knew what the tendering offers coming back were. It was an open process, and yet, ever since problems arose on this project, the city's gone behind closed doors. We don't know any of the details about what we're going to do to finish this. We need to reopen that. I've started a petition. Many of you signed it. Thank you. More than 229 names I brought to City Council, seeking openness on the costs and on the options going forward to complete this project, and involving you in a timely solution. You've said that you want this project finished. You don't want to waste time on retendering or on a legal battle. You want to get it completed and move on to other priorities. And that's my commitment if elected your councillor on October 25th, to seek a timely, cost-effective, and open process that will see the pier completed. In downtown Burlington, I'm Marianne Meed Ward.